All right, I'm not gonna do that this episode. Uh, what's going on? Um, so I plan on doing more content in different avenues in the coming months and years, and I have my whole spiel and how to intro episodes, and you know, I'm not gonna do that with this. I think with this, I want it to be more just like my vlog, more just like super casual, super regular. So when I hit record, I'm gonna just start talking and just being myself, which sometimes includes some of that action. Sometimes, hopefully not every episode, but episode 3 of As a Man. It's been a month and a half, roughly. I think the last recording was on June 23rd, 2026. It is August 8th. This is actually the anniversary of when I started my locks, when I did have locks, back in 2006, 5. I kept saying I had them for 13 years. I cut them in 2017. So 13 years before that would have been 2004, if my math is right. 17 minus 13 is 4. 2004. My sophomore year of high school. And as you can see, the effects of dreading over that period of time, all of that niceness right there. Look at that. It looks really great. So I've actually been using I just started using this product yesterday that had been heavily advertised to me for the past 2 years or year and a half, called JC's Miracle. Supposedly has the effects of stimulating hair growth and all that good stuff. I just used it for the first time last night. The shampoo, the conditioner, the oil, and the spray, the hydration spray. So we'll see how that goes. This is the fun part of getting old, is now you gotta do all of these different things to keep yourself together, versus when you were a kid or a teenager, young 20s, and your body just responded. You didn't have to think about it. So we'll see. Try to get these edges back, the corners. Got like the derma roller thing and all of that. But yeah. The last time I recorded, June 23rd, I felt really good that day. I don't know what was going on. I just remember making that note. I think it was a good day, good week, good space. Bouncing back from the news of my semester with my classes and the situation with my driver's license, not being able to drive for Uber. That was kind of a up day, a positive day. The month and a half from that day to now, not so much. There have been encouraging moments, but a lot of mental and emotional toil, just navigating the reality of those things and how to respond to those things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to hop back into the accountability conversation. I'm going to get some research for y'all so that it's not just my opinion or my perspective, but also what the data says and what the researchers say about the benefits and the responsiveness of accountability. So I don't think I've made this. I don't even think I had this decision made in June. I didn't. No. So I decided for this coming semester, for my master's program in clinical mental health counseling, I'm going to take the fall off. And the reason why is the way that my schedule would be if I were to try to squeeze the classes that I failed this spring into the coming fall, spring, and summer. I would either end up taking a child and adolescent counseling class this coming spring, which would give me 4 classes in the spring, my internship class, an advanced skills class or something like that, the research class that I failed this past spring, only available in the spring, and the child and adolescent counseling class. So that would be 4 classes this coming spring. Doesn't sound, as much as I like to be confident and nah. Just came off of a semester with 3 classes and it didn't work out. So I wrestled with that for a couple of weeks and then I was like, okay, that's not gonna work. The other option was to take that child and adolescent counseling class next summer. That would give me 5 summer classes, and the summer is split into 2 half semesters. So instead of a full 16-week semester with 2 classes or however many classes, it's 2 8-week semesters with 2 classes in each 8-week semester. So I already got 4, 2 in the first 8 weeks, 2 in the second 8 weeks. The child and adolescent class will be the 5th class. I'm not allowed to do that, and probably for good reason. Talking to my academic advisor, she was just like, that's against the policy, school policy. So that left me no choice but to push what I originally thought was pushing the child and adolescent class to next spring. Not the spring of 27, but the spring of 28. Instead of doing that, I said, let me just move the entire program, my entire degree plan back 1 semester and take the fall off, do my research class that I failed and my child and adolescent class that I failed alone this coming spring of 27 when I'm supposed to be graduating. Summer classes that I did not take this current summer because I was on academic probation, I would take those summer classes next summer, and then my internship 1, internship 2 next school year, and be done in the spring of 2028. Needless to say, very humbling, very depressing, very frustrating. Frustrating has kind of been my favorite word over the past decade. When I need to really lock in more on the feelings wheel and identify what branches or roots stem from that word, that feeling, because I'm sure there's other ways I can describe what I'm feeling in those moments, but frustrating is like, that's been a go-to. With this supposedly my plan of kind of climbing out of my reset from separation from my wife and just financial reset, to have to push off the fruits of the reset another year, more than likely living with my dad, another year just not being in a place that as a man I want to be in, especially if I find myself single again, wanting to get back in the dating market, another year of still being in a situation. And we all know, men and women, anytime a guy tries to holler at a woman and he's like, man, I got this situation going on, I got this situation, he's doing this with the hands, women ain't trying to hear that. Just keep it a buck. If women have context, they may be lenient or may be understanding, but more than likely off the rip, if a guy is trying to holler at somebody and he's saying, I got this situation, it's gonna turn a woman off. You know what I'm saying? I recognize that. I understand that. So all of those different things kind of led to that frustration. It's like, dang, this is what it's gonna be. But at the same time, after I sat with that reality that was the best route for a couple weeks before I talked back to my academic advisor, I felt a sense of peace at the same time. I felt like, you know what, this is the best plan. This is the way God got it to be right now. It's going to work out the way it's supposed to work out. So, in the meantime, locking in on work, you know what I mean? This is a part of that plan I said in the last episode, that eat shit plan for the year. Not what I expected it to look like or how I expected it to go, but I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna see it through for the year. So as far as work goes, the job that I had spoke on in episode 2, that was taking a long time for the background check, the courier position, delivering the mail. I did get that job. Took 2 months for the background check to clear. Every Wednesday I'd get an email from the company saying, did you used to live at this address? I'd immediately respond, no. And then I have to wait another Wednesday. Oh, okay. What about that address? Immediately respond, no. I'd have to wait another week. Oh, okay. Is this your real name? Like, just like random questions about my background or discrepancies or whatever. So frustrating. And the company I work for, the third party company, they said this is the situation with every new hire. For whatever reason, the background check is just super disorganized. So they were grateful that I stuck through it. Actually forwarded, I think I said in the last episode, they paid my my signing bonus early as a sign of good faith. So it's been a good relationship. Super easy job. Super easy. The only tough part of the job is getting up at 4 a.m. That's it. But once I acclimated to that, it's like, it's cake. I get off at like 10, I can come home, take a nap, or I can just keep moving to another, whatever. I have the stagehand gig as well. Doing that through the union has been a blessing. I got paid from that yesterday. I got paid once before, but this one was very nice. Very nice. Worked for a couple concerts, Usher and Chris Brown, when they came to town. I did that rehearsal for a couple days, and I did the breakdown after their actual concert performance. Artist named Benson Boone. Had never heard of him before, but then when he did his last song, I was like, oh yeah, I know that song. It's in all the commercials. That's the song for the commercials. I know that song. And then this last weekend, I did Busch Stadium for Noah Khan, another artist I never heard of. Decent music. I understood the draw. Sold out Busch Stadium, which was a crazy sight to see, and I actually have video. I might actually try to get that video overlaid into the episode so y'all can see what I saw. Turned that corner from the dugout of Busch Stadium and saw a beautiful scene of fans showing love to Noah Khan. So cool experiences. I also love that job, labor job, moving, sweating, up my alley. I like to work like that. Regular people from all different walks of life. So just learning people's stories and backgrounds. It kind of filled me up, you know. So those two jobs have kind of, you know, held me up the past month and a half. And this last check that I got for those 3 shows yesterday helped me to pay off a whole lot of bills I'd fallen behind on, play catch up, put some money in the savings. Yeah, it's been super helpful. So that kind of takes me right into the financial kind of wing. Right at 15 minutes, I'm doing good again. Like I said, those checks gave me relief. Those different checks for different, you know, facilities. So one was at the Dome at America Center, formerly Edward Jones Dome. One was at Enterprise Center, formerly the Kiel Center, where the Blues play. And then Busch Stadium, obviously, is the Cardinals. So 3 different checks, but got to catch them all like Pokemon. You know, went and deposited those. And then I immediately went and paid off the traffic tickets that led to my license suspension. So one was to help me get into a diversion program for the ticket in Kansas, to hopefully get those points and that, you know, record off of my my license. And then the other ones for the stop sign that I ran and out in Baldwin, paid that off as well. I try to pay my car payment this coming Tuesday. Normally it's due on the 3rd, but they super graceful. And I get paid from the courier job, the mail delivery job. I get paid every Tuesday, so I'll make the car payment then. Yeah, and then I gotta pay some money to the joint account I got with my wife. Really falling behind on some of those payments over the past couple months. The contributions that were due there, so it's some catch up to be done with that on a credit card and all that stuff. The other jobs that I wanted to get were it was a community service specialist position, basically like a counselor light, for like people dealing with addictions or homelessness or other circumstances that just make day-to-day life challenging. But it's a position that could be filled without having the license of a licensed professional counselor. So I interviewed for that job maybe a few weeks after the last recording. And then a few days after that interview, I also had an interview for a position where I'm basically an assembler. So it could be for bikes or grills or furniture, anything that requires a fair amount of assembly and putting it together. There's a job that you can do if you want to look it up yourself, and you basically are putting those things together for like $5 a unit. And if you do like 5 units in an hour, you're getting $25 an hour. If you're doing 8 units in an hour, you're getting that $40 for that hour. You know what I'm saying? So it's set up to where it's contingent on how hard you want to work. And it's pretty simple to do. The thing with me is that I don't have my own tools, and it was unfamiliar. So when I did the interview, it was clunky. It was literally like an on-the-job interview where they wanted to see how capable and competent I was. But I only really got 1 rep and like putting together a bike. He showed me how to do it. Then he said, do it. I did it. Probably took 5 minutes more than what he did. But nevertheless, with both of those job interviews, didn't get them. And that was the first time I can remember, as a person who's a high achiever and used to certain level of success with the interview process or with the scholastic arena, that was the first time I can remember having 2 interviews. Usually when I get to the interview process, I've already locked in my mind that the job is mine. It's up to me whether I want to turn it down or not. This was the first time I can remember having an interview and not getting the job. And that happened twice within 1 week. So that was a rough week. More to my ego and my pride than anything. I still was like confident in, God is going to give me the right job at the right time, which he did. But it was more like, who you telling I ain't qualified? Y'all interviewed me, So it was more pride, but it was also a curiosity of like, okay, and maybe that's a character flaw of mine. It's like, okay, what didn't I do? Was I not good enough? Did I say something wrong? Did I, it made me look at myself as well. So it was just that was a rough, semi-rough week. It wasn't like super weighty, but it did hit me a certain way. Especially on the heels of what happened with the semester at school. So it's like, am I just not gonna win this year? Is this not a year for me to win? Like, it was some of that. So fortunately, it's still working out. God's got everything under control. Nothing for me to stress about. I'm still on the lookout for jobs that might be better for what I'm really wanting and needing instead of cobbling stuff together. But in the meantime, bills is paid, the money's coming. I have no complaints. I actually went in the basement and decided to look for this good bad boy right here. So this is a company called Precision Nutrition. I signed up for a certification course with them in 2019. 2019, it's just crazy. It was 7 years ago. And I never started on the course. I think I got like halfway through the first chapter. And then life did what life did. I don't know what was going on in 2019. I think that was the heels of me coming out of real estate, kind of chalking that up as an L, getting back into personal training, but for whatever reason, just not committing the time necessary to get that done. And so in this season, with especially in the last week, which I'll talk about in a second, I was just like, when I made the commitment to pushing my classes back, I'm like, okay, I got the fall free. Yes, I can work. Yes, it's stacking money. But how am I doing that? And what do I do with the extra time? Well, I was like, if I do want to eventually turn this whole thing into a gym concept, which is kind of the premise for me doing the podcast, starting, the group chat I got and like trying to rally guys together. It's all centered around me wanting to eventually create this gym community or fitness community for men, to encourage them physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. If I'm going to have any contribution to that practically, especially as a trainer, I want to have a greater grasp of the nutrition component than I did last time. I tried my hand at personal training on 2.5 separate occasions. When I initially got my certification as a trainer, I was working at Gold's, and shout out to them. They folded all across the St. Louis area, and I think in certain locations in Cali too. Good riddance. But it just wasn't a good working circumstance for me. I wasn't getting the necessary clients to like pay bills, and also not really having the polish to retain clients outside of, hey, do these exercises. But the psychological component, the nutritional component, like all the different other things that go into training that helps you really have success with clients, I didn't have. And then I try to do it freelance for myself, which I was getting like boot camps and stuff like that. And then I think I tried a third time. The third time was, I think, 2019. But I didn't have this. So I said if I ever want to do training again, or if I want to push for the gym or the fitness community, I want to have the grasp of the nutrition stuff. And what better time than now to kind of keep my brain active as far as study and, getting certified. So I'm going to try to do that in tandem with the 2 jobs that I got, and maybe get back into training later this year into the winter, or next spring, and have that be a possible third stream of income, so I can still maintain flexibility for this final push for my my counseling degree. If that makes sense. I know that was a lot. So that's that. I guess that's under the financial component a little bit, physical, mental, a little bit of everything. What kind of confirmed for me to do that was the time that I took away from social media. I randomly saw this post on Instagram maybe 3 days before the end of July. It was like Wednesday or Thursday. And it was a guy talking about fasting from social media from August 1st to August 7th. Today is August 8th, 2026. I don't know if I said that already. Saturday. And it's 3:04 p.m. I don't know what's going on with this clock. I think the battery is old or something, but that's not accurate. It's currently 3:04 p.m. Central Time. But in the video, the guy's like, with fasting from social media, I don't know how he just became the authority of what we are doing, but he was very confident in what he was saying. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna listen. And he said, we are fasting from social media from August 1st to August 7th. And we are going to reclaim our attention spans and our minds. And I was like, yeah, I'm with you. And he's like, we are going to make sure that we don't keep feeding the algorithm and we make them respect us as humans. I was like, come on, brother. And he was like, we are going to manifest a different reality and we're going to escape from the matrix. I'm like, I was with you. But I don't know what you're talking about. You went left. I don't know what you're talking about now. Nevertheless, the general concept was like right on time for me, because social media was really like, I'm a scroller like most people, but it was getting really bad towards the end of July. Like, scroll Instagram, scroll Facebook, okay, back to Instagram, okay, what's on Threads, okay, YouTube. And I was just like, I already knew how unproductive I was, but I didn't fully grasp it until I made that commitment to do that fast. So here's a couple things that came from it. That meeting over? Probably going to revisit this. I saw my dad just pull back up. I might have to go in and do the car recording thing. It's not a thing against him. He probably don't even care. But I just want to be able to speak freely and not have to think, okay, let me edit. So I'm going to talk about what I got from the fast after this commercial break. All right, so right back at it. Hack editing job, sorry. And yes indeed, you're catching me snacking on pistachios because I'm hungry, but I ain't too hungry. Like, I could eat, but I'm going to the gym after this, so I'm not trying to eat too much. and then I'm playing tennis after that. Continuing on where I was in the first section of the video that was recorded on August 8th, which was Saturday, 2026. It is now August 11th, which is Tuesday, August 2026. My dad is working nights again now. For those who don't know, my father is a custodian for the Ferguson-Florissant School District. He is a 72-year-old male, cisgendered, heterosexual, if he knows what any of that means. Divorced from my mother, which that's a whole other can of worms to unpack. But yeah, work is keeping him active and occupied in ways that I don't think he would otherwise have if he were to retire. My siblings and I were pushing for retirement a few years back, and I think all of us kind of came to the realization at the same time that it probably wouldn't be best for him. There's not any other hobbies or preoccupations for him that would take up his day-to-day time. And as all the research is showing, and a lot of communication with others who have elderly parents, it becomes a matter of time at that point in terms of just decline, mental, physical decline. So he's continuing to work in the district days in the summertime, evenings once the school year starts. And neither one of us knew that he was going to evenings this week, but works for me, so I can record an afternoon like this, do my early morning gig, eat breakfast, try not to take a nap, end up taking a nap, which happened today. And by the time I'm really in a space to record, I have the house to myself. So may I reiterate that as a 37-year-old male going through divorce proceedings, this is a very humbling and depressing reality to even discuss. Let me make sure my dad's not here so I can record content in the living room while I look outside and I see my neighbor pull up to the house after picking her children up from school or just playing basketball out in the front yard. I digress. So I just don't want that to be lost on people like, oh, he's having too much fun recording these videos. I'm not. This is documentation. So anyway, towards the end of the last video, I know I was about to speak on the benefits of the fast that I did and completed on Friday. I will say that my intention over the weekend was to hop into this nutrition certification and start to develop a rhythm with that. That hasn't happened yet. I have that on the docket for tomorrow. And we'll see how that goes. I should be okay. But you never know, because tomorrow also, August 12th, would be my 9-year wedding anniversary. So, I always leave room for the unexpected, but I think it'll be business as usual. This is the last pistachio, y'all. I'm sorry, but I feel better now. Yeah. Business as usual is the plan, but I always leave it open for the unexpected. The game plan, if I can just skip to the emotional recap, the past week / past month and a half. The game plan was to wait until the anniversary passed and to basically blow her phone up this weekend. I don't want to say pushing, but pushing for the divorce. Like adding some urgency. Like, we're dragging this out. I'm not hearing any communication from you. I don't know what's going on. I have no conviction or reason to believe that my desire to stay married will yield any fruit for either of us. Let's get this finalized. That was kind of the conclusion I arrived at within the past week or two to do this weekend. Then she texted me on Monday, yesterday. Random text in the morning. I think she probably saw that I finally contributed something to the joint account that we have, paid the credit card bill. And maybe that sparked the response, basically just asking my availability for the week. I shared my availability pretty much anytime after 10 a.m. No response. So, I don't know what to expect tomorrow or beyond in that regard. And yes, very much a rough week last week and rough kind of trajectory over the past few months and past few years because of that uncertainty and inconsistency. Just processing through the probable finality of my marriage has left me kind of in limbo emotionally. Some days, most days, with increasing time past, it's pretty subdued. But there are the occasional flare-ups, occasional, rough patches or rough stretches with any kind of thoughts that cross my mind or reminders of what I desire when I see couples in public or commercials or shows or social media, whatever. I actually checked with the county on Friday to see what the status of our divorce was, our petition, since the section of the petition that needed correction hadn't been returned. Whether or not there was a deadline set to like throw the whole petition away, or if we had passed the deadline, or just where we were in the process, so as to know how to communicate to my wife. If we need to hurry up and get that section completed and submitted, if we needed to just do the whole petition over because we waited too long, like just all of those things. And the county essentially said, it's just open. There's no deadline. There should be a sense of urgency, and these matters usually take some time, so it's kind of just on you guys, which is information I definitely plan on relaying to my wife whenever we have that conversation. So yeah, that's been a frustrating deal. And it's been over 2 years since we've been separated. Obviously, we've seen each other in the interim. But the last time we've seen each other in person was October of last year. So that's what? Almost 10 months. And even with the stretches of time in between, a lot of guys will be like, how are you doing? A lot of women would be like, how are you doing this? How are you doing this? Like, well, how honest do you want me to be? Because I mean, there's really a few simple answers and possibilities of how I'm doing this. I'm choosing the most isolated version of those answers, and I kind of alluded to that last episode or the previous episode. You know, I've committed to regularly keeping in front of my eyes, like, no, porn, absolutely not. There's a lot of temptation, there's a lot of stimulation, a lot of things that are try to direct you in that way, whether it's intentional or not. The way women dress in 2026, case in point, but I'm gonna leave that one alone. Also, just provocative posts on social media or programming or commercials, whatever. People in public. Conversations that used to be taboo that are now commonplace. All of those different opportunities to funnel an individual to just get into the meat and potatoes of it. Like, I want to see the bump and the uglies. I want to see some nakedness and some stuff. So I'm really pushing as hard as I can, and have been over months and years, to limit and root out that conclusion or that solution as far as viewing porn. However, masturbation, it's another story. Also doing the best I can to limit that and to minimize that and to lower that, for sure. How much of that is age related and, you know, the T levels coming down, I don't know. But from my 20s, singleness then, to, you know, my early 20s, like college, post-college, to now, late 30s, the frequency of those urges and actually satisfying those urges has greatly decreased. So just continuing to try to do that. The gym has also been helpful in that regard, redistributing that energy and that those urges, and also like just physical activity in general, tennis, running. So as those lustful flare-ups come, especially when I was fasting last week, and there was no temptation present, there was no visual or audible temptation present, still memories and thoughts and considerations and just the flesh in general, it's stuff that has to be managed and has to be accounted for. I think it's also a reminder to stay in constant prayer, and that, you know, the desire I have for intimacy is such that I can start to develop what a lot of the football players have been talking about the past couple weeks as they get into the NFL training camp and training camps on all levels, high school, college, for the upcoming football season. They talk a lot about camp eyes, where you get in a training camp and you're supposed to be isolated from the general public for 2 weeks, maybe longer. During that 2 to 3 week stretch, there's no contact with, no physical in-person contact with the outside world, including women. So because that absence of release and that outlet for like sexual gratification, they start to see anything as attractive. Lunch lady, they talk a lot about the lunch ladies because that's probably the only women they get to see during that time, or any other woman that generally they would not be trying to shoot at. They like start considering it. if not actually pursuing it. And in my situation, when I'm not actively having sex, it could be 10 times worse than that, 100 times worse than that. It just depends on the day. So it's even more of a I won't say urgency, but even more of there's more of an impetus for me to stay busy, to stay preoccupied, stay active with things that don't steer me in that direction. So that's that. Also have been battling a lot with the mindset of like inadequacy, as I kind of alluded to at the beginning of this section of this episode, for obvious reasons that I've mentioned throughout, but also I've had a series of dreams recently and throughout recent years where the theme has consistently seemed to be feeling lost or missing out, or essentially like I'm not there yet. And a lot of the dreams historically would be football themed. So I'm arriving to the football field for a game and either getting off the bus with teammates or trying to get to the field myself from the locker room or whatever, and I've forgotten some kind of essential piece of equipment. I forgot my cleats. I don't have the jersey on my shoulder pads. I don't have my helmet. I don't have a mouthpiece or something essential that's needed to participate in the game. And the thought in my head in the dream is I'm supposed to be on the field playing. I'm not just like going to be on the sidelines. I'm not just going to be nearby or in the stands. I'm actually supposed to be participating. I'm an integral part of the team, and it's a meaningful performance. It's a meaningful game. Like, I need to be there, whether it's for the success of the team or for my own future opportunities to gain the trust of the coaches or whatever the reasoning is. It's not clearly defined, but that urgency of like, man, you got to get to the field or you're going to miss your shot. You're going to miss out. You're going to lose an opportunity. It would normally be those kind of dreams, and now it seems to have extended to like just general life, where I'm in a hotel and I'm hanging out with some guys in a hotel room, probably getting some shots up, or they're smoking, whatever the pre-gaming is or whatever, and now they all transition to a common area, or a significant amount of them do, and I go to the common area and then try to return to the hotel room after some time mingling, and I can't find a hotel room. Now I'm literally like running around the hotel like, where's that room? I'm trying to get back to the room. Like, why can't I find that room? So dreams like that, like the connective tissue seems to be lostness, or not arriving, not making it, not fulfilling the dream. Like, before I wake up, I was unable to find the thing that I was looking for or accomplish the thing that I was trying to accomplish. Which is, it's a challenge to not view, as I just think through those dreams and whatever connects them, it's a challenge not to see it as like in light of what's going on in my personal life. The idea of not having arrived in personal life, not having achieved what I wanted to achieve in my personal life, and which leads to those feelings of failure and inadequacy and obviously frustration, a lot of regret, feelings of anger and things like that. So all of that is under the emotional umbrella. All of that has been along with the marriage uncertainties, been bubbling up. And then I play tennis, as I've mentioned. competitively. Since the last recording, I played Saturday morning was just more practice with the team that I'm a part of, and played for 3 hours. It was good exercise, good work, but when it came down to the competitive portion, and we're actually playing sets of tennis, with keeping score, I played against 2 high school kids. Oh, I don't even think they were in high school. I can't even lie. I think they were juniors. Like one could not have been any older than 14. The boy. The girl may have been freshman, sophomore in high school, but very easily could have been a middle schooler. Both of them gave me that work. I lost 6-1 to the girl, 6-2 to the guy. Then I played a set of doubles after being out there for 2 hours with my actual teammates. The kids, I was kind of recruited to play against them, to kind of give them a challenge, because who am I? And then playing the doubles with my teammates, kind of tying into what I was just talking about, that like the inadequacy and stuff. When it comes time for me to serve for the match, or serve to stay in the match or in the set, the responsibility is on me to make sure I get the ball into play, so it gives me and my partner an opportunity to continue fighting for victory. If I don't get my serve in, or if I have a bad service game, we lose. And in this instance, I had a bad service game. I would double fault. I think I double faulted on match point. A common theme I've experienced since I've gotten better in tennis and more competitive, or even when I first started. Just those tight clutch moments, my technique failing me, or just not having confidence in my technique. So that happened Saturday. Yesterday, Monday, I had a match, an actual match, not practice, where my team competed against another team. I played doubles, I played singles, and then I played mixed doubles with a female partner. We won doubles, just the 2 guys, which I was surprised because we were losing significantly, and we came back. I think we were down like 5-2, and we ended up winning 6-5. My serve was trustworthy through that set. And then I played singles and I lost 6-2. So I'm like, my serve disappeared and lost confidence in my forehand, all my strokes, all my stuff. So I'm saying all that to say, tennis has not necessarily been helpful in the regard of like feelings of success or accomplishment or XYZ. Whereas, got it right here. In 2024, I won this bad boy. A summer league I was in, just playing singles for myself. And that was at the 3-5 level, which is like you're a little bit good. You're better than a beginner, but you're not quite college level advanced. You're like a mid-level high school player. That's what I would equate a 3.5 to, 3.5. I won that league in 2024. Now I'm playing that same caliber of player in 2026, and I'm losing to those guys. Excuse me. Mostly because I just need more reps, and I haven't been getting them. But also because I start to tank mentally, and I start thinking about these things of like, it's not negative self-talk. I don't go to the like, oh man, you suck, you're terrible, like you're, I don't do that to myself. But I do start to like have doubt. I do start to be like, oh yep, you missed that, sir. You're gonna miss the next one, or here we go again. Just kind of that detour. So counseling is on the docket for the next week or two. I hope to reach out tomorrow and try to reestablish routine with that, because that's a lot to work through and talk through. I know that probably only will get resolved by speaking with a qualified professional, which is another reason why I'm stepping in, trying to get into the field, because I do recognize the importance of that. So that was the emotional branch. I did want to touch on accountability again and actually provide that research, but I didn't do the research. So that's my homework for the next episode next week, is to have some research prepared to be like the second half of my episodes, how I got them structured week to week. So I'm just going to use the rest of this time to just kind of wrap up how I've been feeling, what I've been dealing with, and get it documented. Again, anybody who cares to sit here and listen to me babble about my life, I appreciate you. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe and all that good stuff. So just to speed through it, I mentioned the card payments and the credit card debt payments. So I made all those yesterday. So I have no money left until next week. Just wanted to put a button on that from the financial recap. What I got from my social media fast. So I mentioned the guy who spoke for everybody about what we're doing, even though I bought into it. And I didn't really make my fast a spiritual fast. That wasn't the original intent. It was just to get off social media, and by default, more time would be made available to spend with the Lord and to be praying more and reading more. But it was primarily to get more into production and to just kind of focus more of that energy and attention on the things that need priority. And that's really what happened, to put it under our umbrella. I decided to get back into the nutrition course. I spoke on that. Even though I was kind of leaning that direction, that was kind of the confirmation for that. I also realized how much my productivity was severely limited and detoured by distractions and interruptions. Trying to multitask with YouTube in the background, like, okay, I'm just going to listen to it. But knowing me, I'm not a casual listener. And I also don't really watch or listen to content where you can just be casually listening. It's stuff where it's informative. It's not light or goofy or nonsensical. It's information, and I like to learn. I'm a curious person, so if I have it on, I want to get the information from there, as well as do the thing that's right here. And it's just not possible. People can say that they multitask in that way. It's I was gonna say it's BS. It is. It's BS. It's not true. You're compromising one thing for the other. You're missing something from one thing while you focus on the other. And you can shift back and forth, but the quality of what you're doing in both arenas is going to decrease. Something is going to be sacrificed. So, like now, I'm learning to just turn the TV off. What do I need to focus on? What do I need to do? Do that. Because otherwise, I wouldn't have recorded today. I would have just watched another YouTube video, another podcast, and be like, oh, darn it. Ran out of time. But let me get to the gym. Let me get to the tennis court. No. Turn that off. And it was a struggle with some of the YouTube videos I was watching. I watched Pivot episode. I watched Joe Budden podcast clips. Took a nap. All of this during and after breakfast. And then by the time I woke up, I was like, I really don't feel like recording. I don't feel like putting the effort in. And that's why I didn't get the homework done for the accountability piece. But I said, I made this commitment. I want to stick with this schedule and this routine. Turn the TV off. And so that's what I did. So I learned from last week in the fast that is severely impacted my productivity is severely impacted by those distractions of social media, by YouTube, and wanting to convince myself that I can multitask when I know I can't. I also had a lot better overall clarity and peace during the fast, not having screens on around me, not having noise and constant activity, just being able to sit in silence and be present, hear the natural sounds around me, and just acclimate to whatever environment I was in, especially when I was working. Having to sometimes listen to my coworker babble and not be able to distract myself or ignore her, have to, actually engage her. Different things like that. I felt like I could hear God's voice a lot clearer during that time. And that's the case with any fast that I've done. So it's figuring out how to incorporate that in and to maintain that rhythm after the fast. Maintain establish a better balance. Hey, you're not going to watch anything until 2 o'clock. Hey, you're not going to watch anything until 6 o'clock. Whatever barometers or boundaries I need to put in place. Still figuring that out. I also launched a soft launch of a Discord that I started, I think 5 years ago, 2021, I believe. Might have been before that, 2019. I can't remember. Years ago, for the Temple Fitness Club. So the Temple Fitness Club was an idea that came to me, I want to say pre-pandemic. It might have been after. Basically for men to connect, obviously through fitness, but also through faith and prioritizing community. And I started the Discord as a means of, or having the idea that eventually there would be a physical facility to kind of channel communication through the Discord. But as that facility idea has got pushed further and further off, not too far off, but realistically years away, it's like, well, the communication and the community piece can still be established. And although I wanted it to be more of an in-person affair with people that I interact with regularly, I would talk to a lot of my guys and realize, no, they're needing something like this now. They're talking about their fitness. They're talking about the gut that they have, or how their knees are hurting, or just feeling like they don't have enough energy, or struggling with whatever fitness goals they have, or nutrition issues that they're struggling with, along with whatever challenges they may have in faith, the highs and lows of faith, or what they're navigating with in marriage or in dating, like all the different things. And I'm like, well, that's the essence of why this group and this club will be established. So the club can exist outside of the physical walls. Let me go ahead and kick it off. And particularly leading up to the fast, as I was mentioning the fast to a couple of the guys, they all spoke to kind of being in the same space where they needed that break from social media too. They needed that refocusing. They needed that accountability and that drive towards improving their nutrition and being more consistent with their fitness. So I was like, well, now's the best time to get this popping and to kind of lead through just offering that accountability, offering that push, offering that space to be like, hey, talk about what's going on. What's on your mind? What happened today? What happened this week? So it worked really, really well for last week. Chat has been dead the past couple of days as people have resumed their social media consumption, but hopefully we can try to, again, continue a rhythm and a balance of checking in with each other and encouraging each other in light of what we got from the fast. And then finally, which I got this a few weeks before the fast, but I got this item here called a light phone. I don't know if you can see that. It's really light. Haha. But It's essentially a dumb phone, as they've become to known. I have smaller hands, so you can see how small the phone is. But it's the goal of the phone is to minimize the things I was just speaking on: social media consumption, scrolling, internet abuse and usage, games, all the things that these devices are designed to heighten and maximize. The light phone is designed to minimize and eliminate in many cases. This is the light phone 2. The light phone 3 is out, which has a lot more flexibility and a lot more options, but I prefer to have less options because I really did want to connect more with self and more with the Lord. So I struggled to get that phone activated for whatever reason. I could text, but I couldn't make calls. I couldn't receive calls, so I didn't use it. And then last week, I finally figured out what, or 2 weeks ago, I finally figured out what that was with T-Mobile, and it's a great option to have now. So whenever I want to just switch my SIM from my main phone to that phone, especially if I'm moving around or working, I have that option, and it greatly limits those distractions I was talking about. So all of that came from the fast. I was very grateful for the week and a lot of the revelation that I got. And like I said, I hope to keep it going. Physically, my knee is feeling much better. Although it feels like the irritation and minimal pains have kind of shifted from the front of my knee, I'm guessing that's MCL area, to the side of my knee, which is like PCL, or maybe it's ACL in the front and then like PCL or MCL on the outside. Anytime I do like a lot of strenuous squatting movements, sometimes when I come from the tennis court, but even still, way better feelings than what I was feeling in February and March. And it took a while, but I think we're back good there. So just continuing to maintain that, stretching a lot more. I got to stretch a lot more, especially after workouts. I stretch well before, but I don't stretch well after. Like, I don't cool down well. So I got to work on that. Talked about tennis. Well, essentially, I need more reps. I didn't get into this summer the way I wanted to. April really messed me up. So I paid off my tickets. The one in Kansas, the one from Baldwin. I was supposed to have a court date today at 5:30. Don't have to worry about that. That ticket's done. That's the Baldwin ticket. That's been resolved. Now I've got to deal with the diversion application for my ticket in Kansas, and that court date is tomorrow morning at 8:30. Hopefully that can get resolved within the next couple weeks before the end of the month, and I could be back to Uber and doing more driving related gig work. But I digress. All of that happening in April, along with the divorce stuff, along with the school stuff, really disrupted how I wanted to get into the summer, being more focused on getting reps with tennis, getting reps in the gym, transitioning more from just heavy lifting and gaining weight to athletic activity, stretching, preparation for the joints and all that stuff. And I feel like that's kind of impacted, along with the injury or the whatever, getting hurt in February. So I cut it down to two days in the gym a week. Last month in July, I'm doing the same thing in August, and then next month I'm just taking off completely. I can tell my body needs a break. I'm debating whether I'm not going to play tennis at all in September. I don't think that's wise. I still need to do something active, cardio-wise. So I'll probably be like on the bike or on the Stairmaster or jump rope, some other modality of cardio work, along with a couple days of tennis, just so I can keep the rhythm. But as far as lifting weights, I'm 99% sure I'm gonna take September off just to let my joints rest as much as possible. And even this month, I'm like kind of dreading pushing through because I just feel like I can tell my body needs to rest. So that's where I'm at physically. It's cool. Mentally, again, I think the fast really has me in a better headspace. It was getting rough towards the end of July. With all the things I've previously mentioned, kind of emotional and mental bleed into each other. But I've been super productive. I've made and prioritized more time for quality conversations. I actually got a couple phone calls yesterday from two of my friends. Gave them about 20 minutes apiece. And learning that that's sometimes all you need. 10, 15, 20 minutes max. Talk about nothing. Quick updates. Just touching base. Hear your voice. Let you hear my voice. Get off the phone. And that's cool. I think subconsciously I held the expectation that if I make a phone call, I gotta leave room for the phone call to be, I really hear everything you got going on and you're gonna listen to me. I'm realizing that's not a realistic expectation, and that's usually not other people's expectation. And that kind of is what kept me away from being a phone person. I'm not really a big, as much as y'all can tell I like the yap, I really don't like being on the phone. A lot of times it's because the person I'm on the phone with isn't talking about anything relevant, or they're not good listeners. And I don't feel comfortable going into depth of detail of what I got going on or how I'm thinking or feeling, because I know that they're distracted or their retention is low or comprehension or the ability to reciprocate or, properly respond to what it is I'm sharing, whatever the reason it is. It just discourages me from wanting to be on the phone. I don't like being on the phone. I'd rather talk to you in person and I know if I got your attention or not. But I've had more quality conversations last week, and I want to continue to prioritize that with like my close friends, my inner circle, as well as other people who I connect with. I had a guy that I did Uber for maybe a couple months ago. Well, it had been a couple months ago, or in the spring. And he randomly texted me yesterday or 2 days ago, like, man, this is what I've been dealing with church. This is what I've been dealing with friendships and my family and driving. And he's, young kid, probably early 20s. And he was just like, man, I just want to know what you're thinking. Like, let me know what you think about this. He texted me all that, and I texted him a response back. So, like, just making sure that I'm leaving room for those kind of interactions, and that I'm not so busy or preoccupied that the ultimate goal I have, the ultimate desire I have to help people and to serve people doesn't get put on the back burner. I guess I'll talk about this too. Mentally too. Go ahead. So I'm kind of struggling with my view of women. To not get soured and to not get too negative. I'm not a fan of black women, black American women culture in 2026. And haven't been for some time. But just what is promoted as being the stereotypical or normal black woman experience in a lot of instances, not most, not all, but in a lot of instances, probably the loudest promotion is ratchet stuff. Demeanor and mannerisms and facial expressions and word choice and attire and mentality and all of that. I know that there are women, a lot of women, who exist outside of that. And there's also a lot of women that exist right in that, particularly in the younger generations, from what I can observe. The few times I go outside and all the time I spend online. So I find myself a little frustrated because of what's entertained, what's encouraged, what's endorsed, and what's shown. And it's challenged me to, with everything I was saying about my own, considerations of lust and pornography and everything else. It's really challenged me to raise the bar as far as self-control, how I view women. So one, not viewing all of the stuff I just said in a negative light and just being like, okay, this is just expression, it's neutral. Some may be wanting to be sexualized and that's actually the goal. And some are just like, I just want to be free to be who I am in my body, and if you take it a certain way, that's on you. So me raising the bar of self-control for self, to not ogle these women or to fetishize or pedestalize these women, and also not to constantly be in assessment mode. Like, okay, where is she at on a scale of 1 to 10? Or does she have nice features here, here? Or is it possible that we'll be compatible? Like, what other qualities does she have? Is this a future wife? Is this just working on prioritizing viewing women as people. This is a human. And as complicated as guys are, women are just as complicated. You're just not sexually attracted to guys. Therefore, you don't even think about all of this stuff when there's a complicated or weird guy in front of you. You only think about this stuff when it comes to women because you're attracted to women. And you want the attraction to look streamlined or be in a particular narrow scope or view. And that's not a reasonable expectation. It's not a fair expectation. So I recognize that. I'm challenging myself with that, and I'm really trying to reorient my thinking to, even if I completely disagree with how the woman in front of me is presenting herself or what she believes, she is still a child of God. She is still a human being, worthy of the same thing that I'm worthy of or any other person is worthy of. They're no different. So that's also a mental challenge for me and reorientation that I'm working on. I kind of spoke about spiritually throughout, a lot more prayer and reading during the fast, working my way through Deuteronomy and Joshua. It's just interesting to see how God was reiterating to the people of Israel over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I am the Lord your God. I am the Lord your God. Obey my commandments. Do not forget, I'm the Lord your God. Follow my statutes. Trust me, believe me. I'm the Lord. Like, the level of frequency of that being reiterated by the Lord and by Moses and by Joshua was kind of encouraging. Like, okay, these are the chosen people who God was speaking to directly. And they still had the attention span of the dog. I think his name was Doug from Up. Like, it was a squirrel. Like, how much more today do we need those constant reminders? And we don't have, in the same way, God speaking directly to us outside of his word. We have to be the ones pursuing and prioritizing that remembrance. He's the Lord our God. He's the Lord our God. Trust him. Trust his commandments. Like, know the commandments to trust him. And I don't think we spend nearly as much time with God or his word today as a culture, as a society, as the people of Israel did back then. So, and we have more distractions now with these lovely pocket computers. So, that was kind of an encouraging takeaway from what I've been reading so far. I was also very confused about why there was so much of a push for the destruction of so many different cities and other communities and cultures. I haven't grasped that yet, but I've also just been reading. I haven't actually studied like, okay, this happened during this time and this, like, I've just read. I'm just reading. So eventually I'll circle back and get more clarity on that. Family wise, not much movement. My brother moved into his house last weekend. Not this past weekend, but the weekend before. First weekend of August. His birthday was on the 3rd, which was a week ago. Last Monday. So that was kind of his birthday present to himself, to get his first house in Colorado. And super happy for him. Haven't spoken much to my sister. I have conflicted emotions there. Also something I definitely want to work through in counseling. And I kind of spoke with my parents, just wanted to keep them active. My dad, work is the only thing I've been able to identify, because I can't see nothing else he's into. I try to get him back into fitness. He's the reason I started lifting weights. Like, used to be an amateur bodybuilder, but past 20 or so years, nothing in the gym. 25 years. And he would keep saying, "Oh, I'm getting back. I'm gonna do it soon. No, you're not. He's not. So figuring out what the other thing is outside of work. And then my mom, there's nothing. Like a lot of communication of things she's into, but no follow through of like actually committing to those things with frequency or regularity. So like, it's a lot of time being given to screens, to TV, to phones, and a lot of isolation. And that is a concern of mine with the years to come. And also just want to be closer to my family overall, closer to my siblings, closer to my parents, really closer to my extended family. I don't really know my extended family at all on either side. That's been a consideration of mine too. I know there's been talks of like a family reunion. I'm seeing that's probably not going to happen unless I make it happen. So things like that. All of that under the umbrella of family. I think that will probably come more when I'm more established professionally. And really this year has kind of confirmed for me how much a man's capability of being effective, at least in American society, if not around the world, is predicated on being established financially. I watched Jake Paul get interviewed on the Pivot, and they were asking him about how his boxing career has gone and how he's considering transitioning from that to MMA and maybe trying to do professional football. And another venture that he's established with his promotions company that was primarily for boxing, now expanding to MMA, and a purchase or a partnership with an established MMA league or promotion, PFL. And just listening to him talk, what I quickly realized was, even though he says that he grew up blue collar and didn't have much, he had parents who encouraged his creativity and had enough wealth in the form of real estate, in the form of ownership, where he did not need to make it in order to have a fulfilled life or an explorative life. That wasn't a need of his. All he needed to do was figure out what he wanted to do. He didn't need to pay bills. He didn't need to get an education. He didn't need to do any of that stuff. He just needed to figure out what he wanted to do. And I think particularly for black men, but I think for men in general who don't have that luxury of generations of established family structure and ownership of property and whatever else, he's kind of starting on like step 2 or 3, whereas a lot of other men are starting on step 1 or below step 1 for a lot of black men. And I'm realizing that, like, dang, a lot of the stuff I'm considering doing, whether it's black tennis or any other kind of entrepreneurial venture, it's so difficult to get established because not only do I not have the established family structure or wealth, because the family is splintered and the wealth is not present, but also being able to apply education, which is essentially to date years lost, invested in education that's not realizing any profit or any benefit, and also age, marriage, and other factors that are considerable hurdles and challenges. So yeah, more stuff that I'm gonna talk through. I know I'm coming up on an hour along with the half hour that I previously recorded. I think this would be a longer episode than normal. I'm definitely try to keep it to an hour in the future. But like I said, covering a month and a half, almost 2 months worth of stuff that I missed. I think it was only right to catch y'all up and also for me to document this stuff so I can always refer back to it in the future. So next week, episode 4, we're going to touch on the research for accountability and quicker recaps. I'll let y'all later.